relax. And so I would always have like a little glass of wine or half a glass of wine. And when I opened the kava bar, I started drinking kava, and I didn't realize I wasn't having the glass of wine until one time I had a friend come over, and I was like, oh, let me offer you a drink. And I realized, oh, I don't even have them in the house anymore. I don't buy them. And now I would rather have a kava or, one of the taps that James makes on the kratom side. So for me, it's helped, I don't get headaches. I don't get hungover. But if I choose to have a glass of wine, I still will if I feel like it. I don't stop myself if I want to have something, but I just find that I'd rather not. So that's our goal, is to get these drinks out to, bars and restaurants, so that selfishly, if I'm sitting in a restaurant, I can order one of our beverages instead of having to have a glass of wine.
I totally agree with that. I've been so many places, and I'm like, I just really don't feel like having the drink tonight. I wish they had something else. And honestly, I'll end up just drinking like iced tea or something like that because I don't have those options. But little by little, I go back to those places and I drop off samples. And I'm like, hey, I was here the other night. You guys didn't have anything for me because, most of the time I don't drink. So, here's this. And if you're interested, I'm going to get you guys set up. And a lot of people are really receptive to it, especially as we move forward. The more people hear about it, the more people are like, oh, yeah, I've been interested, and I just, never pull the trigger. It's what's not in front of you, and it's easy to just pull the trigger on. It just doesn't happen. But when something becomes easy, they hop on it. So take a second to really get out there, because there's a lot of places you go, and you just don't realize the options are limited to water, tea, soda, or alcohol. And we need to do everything that we can to change that. Because there's a lot of people out there that just don't want to drink, or maybe they're the designated driver that night, and they feel left out. And, you don't want somebody to feel left out, and then, okay, you know what, maybe I'll just have a couple of them. And next thing you know, they're really no longer the designated driver, and it's just something that, it's kind of sad that there's not something for those people other than, just sitting there drinking water, watching your friends, party.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the non-alcoholic category it's grown so much, obviously, to the point we're at now, where before it was almost like, it's for recovering alcoholics or pregnant women. Like, that was the only one. And they didn't really, they're like, all right, here's whatever we decided to give you, and like that was it. But now we have so many more options. Like, I mean, doing this podcast, I've been lucky enough to talk to so many non-alcoholic people, because I was doing that for Dry January for people who are, and I learned the term sober curious, because I had no idea that was even a thing. Yeah. And so, I mean, like you said, there are times that you do want to have a drink, and there's times that you go someplace and you don't want to have a drink, but you want to have the option. And I mean, we're having so many different wines that are coming out that are non-alcoholic, and then Athletic Brewing on the beer side has absolutely killed it for the non-alcoholic world, because it tastes just like the beer is supposed to, but there's no alcohol in it, which is even better. And then obviously you guys, with what you guys are doing, and then there's so many other people in your realm as well that are providing non-alcoholic drinks, that you're still getting an enlightened feeling or a relaxing mood for people, like you said, that are social anxiety has really kind of ridden their lives, and they feel like they need to have a drink either on a date or just out with friends. What do you guys kind of feel like it's looking like when it comes to the non-alcoholic world, and what are you guys seeing for the future?
I mean, honestly, I see nothing but growth and constantly new ideas and new products. Like we were doing our thing, and then we just heard about Kana. Kana kind of popped up, and it was something that it's been around for a while, but nobody really did anything with it. So it just jumped onto the scene, and it's taking off rapidly. And now we're starting to see other people starting to hop on the Kana bandwagon a lot. There's going to be a lot of that. I personally predict at least one per year, new something out there. It might not always be something that gives you some sort of plant buzz, but there is a lot out there that we don't utilize yet with the plant world, or we just don't even know yet. There's so many different things out there that are available that we just don't realize there are available. You know, there's what we know that we don't know, and there's a whole lot more that we don't even realize is out there yet. And that's what we're going to start to see creeping into the scene, is the things that people didn't realize. Somebody made this little discovery, and it pops out there. And the more that people expand in the alcohol alternative market, and the more that there becomes an interest and a demand, the more people are going to research it out there. So I see a lot that's potentially going to happen in the near future with it, with the expansion of different things available out there. And as we go along, I see an exponential rate of growth to a certain point. Obviously, eventually there's going to kind of be a little bit of a plateau, because, you know, we might, you know, limit out certain options, but there's a lot out there that's possible that we just don't even realize is there yet. And there's a lot of herbal supplements that are out there that might not be fully used to their potential at this point. That there's other things that can be done with them, couplings and pairings that can be done to actually see an effect and a benefit. And, you know, those are other options that we're exploring as well. You know, the proper use of things that are already out there in the supplement market, they show a lot of potential for beverages. You know, you have like a couple other beverage companies out there right now that make different mushroom drinks with functional mushrooms and stuff like that. There's a lot with that, but there's a lot of other couplings out there with things like that or other compounds that just haven't even been utilized yet. So there's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of room for potential there.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a bar the other night, and they actually had a non-alcoholic list as well, and I was like, oh, good. I'm so glad that people are becoming more aware of the fact that there are people out there that want to either not drink, like you said, or just don't drink in general, and they still want to have something to drink. I mean, you look at, obviously, the big beer money is getting behind it as well. We have the Heineken, Corona, Bud Light has come back out with their non-alcoholics, and they're actually putting advertisement money behind it as well, which means that they clearly see that the market is growing. And I mean, like you said, there's so much room for growth that I look forward to the day that we do go in a grocery store and the non-alcoholic section is more than just 3 SKUs. It's actually like an entire section, like the way that seltzer kind of just blew up out of nowhere, and they had to grow that whole section of the window. So I look forward to the day that non-alcoholic one is the exact same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those bigger companies that you named start trying to dip their toe in the rest of the NA industry, or the alcohol alternative industry, I should say, from, you know, just things that I've seen or other questions that have come up in the past. So I talked to guys from other breweries and other places around the country, you know, talking about equipment and this, that, or the other, and they're always interested in what we do. And, you know, then they start to ask questions, and I get calls back. And obviously I really can't let them onto too much when it comes to that stuff. But they're definitely interested, and, you know, I'm not going to name names, but some of them were tied to a few of those companies that you mentioned. And I would be very surprised that within the next year or so that one of those doesn't pop up with something. But, you know, I welcome it, because honestly, it's just a mass education of people that are going to keep bringing forward this change. Yeah.
I mean, not only that, but I mean, you know, as we're recording, next weekend is the Super Bowl, and we all know that usually the commercials are kind of the leading at what people can kind of look forward to in the next year. And big beer money normally always wins when it comes to that. And I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if either this one or next year that they have something big that they're going to try to be pushing that is like we're talking about, the alternative to alcohol. And I mean, you know, with a tailored version of Super Bowl, I think we're going to have some good things coming up.
Absolutely. That would be exciting to see that. Maybe in a couple of years we'll have a commercial up there. Who knows? Love that. But, you know, you got to have big dreams out there and shoot for it. But, yeah, I really hope that some of these companies really do help us to educate the masses, because You know, we're a growing company, but we're still a smaller company, and there's definitely a lot more people out there that can be reached. So that's what it's all about.
No, I mean, without a doubt. Now, you guys have so many SKUs. Can you walk us through some of the varietals and how you decided on the flavors that y'all did?
We definitely have a lot of SKUs. I get requests on a daily basis for more, and I'm like, pump the brakes. But you know, there's a whole list of stuff that we currently do. We have our Kava line, where we have 2 cans of Kava out, and then we also have 2 kegs of Kratom out. We have a little bit of variety between the cans and kegs. We have our Orange Dream that comes out in cans, as well as our Peach on the Beach, which is a nice peach lemon flavor. The Orange Dream is a kind of like orange creamsicle, very rich, creamy, kind of, you know, just tastes like a orange cream soda, but with more of that creamsicle kind of background to it. And then in the kegs, we do have the Orange Dream in the kegs, but we also have Tutti Frutti in the kegs, which is a rainbow sherbet kava. And that has that little creaminess, but as well as the little bit of sweet raspberry and a little bit of tart lime to it with that, you know, vanilla notes in it as well to give it that creamy kind of sherbet flavor. But for our Kratom lines, we have a couple of seasonal varieties. Right now, we have a butter brew out on tap at all of our Kava Culture locations. And we have the blueberry lemonade as well on tap, and that one also comes out in cans. So you can get that one on our website. Anything that's in cans is ready available on the website. And then for the white, we have our Island Breeze, super popular, energizing, and that one is available in cans as well. And then we have our NSA Tiki Apple. So our Tiki Apple was traditionally in a green, and it is, you know, our regular version. It's about 70 calories, which is still very reasonable. But because it was so popular, we decided to come out with a no sugar added version of it, which still has natural sugars from the apple juice in it. So it still has a few calories, but it's about 15 calories less per serving than the original because of that. Because we don't add any agave. It's just sweetened with monk fruit and the natural sugars that are in the apple juice. And then going down the line, we have our traditional Tiki Apple in green, and then our seasonal green, which is the raspberry blood orange, which is just blowing up. I have a feeling that's not going to remain seasonal. That's probably going to come back. And then we have our Kana line. Our Kana line is new and ever changing. We started out with Lychee Bomb, which it blew up right off the bat, but the second that people tasted any other flavors, they're like, oh, well, we want that or we want this. So we then came out with Jolliest Rancher, which kind of tastes like both red Jolly Ranchers. We are coming out with a flavor for February for Valentine's Day. It's a sweet tart. It basically tastes like those little hearts, but without the chalkiness.
Nice.
And it's really, really tasty. Like I said, with Kana, we're able to basically make any flavor that we can think of. In cans for Kana, we have our pomegranate fusion. So it's a light pomegranate raspberry taste. It's almost closer to being like a seltzer, but still having a little bit more substance to it. And then we have our Delta line. So we have our laid back lemonade in Delta 8, which is our blackberry lemonade. And then we have our gummy, which is basically, it kind of tastes like all of the different flavors of gummy bears in one can. If you sip it, you'll taste like this flavor and then that flavor. And then you sip it again and you taste one or two other flavors. Each time you sip it, you kind of have a different mix of flavors as you're drinking it. And it's really interesting how it evolves. And we have, for our Delta 9s, we have Perfect Pear, which is a very light pear apple flavor. And then we have our number one when it comes to the Deltas and pretty much almost across the board, which is our lemon pound cake Delta 9. That one, it's really interesting. It basically tastes like cake in a can. It might sound a little bit weird for some people, but as you taste it, you can taste like the pastry, the icing, the lemon, everything. It's all there, and it's really interesting how it evolves on the palate. All the Delta 9s, both the Delta 9s are available in kegs as well. The Delta 8s are only available in cans. But yeah, that's our current SKU list. We do also do a brewer series, which is kind of my twisted mind put into a can. We had a little discussion. When we first came out with Tutti Frutti, I wanted to call it Unicorn Piss, and there became the offshoot of the Brewer series. So we came out with a really interesting label, and